Hello everyone, this is Sarah, your Uber driver. Just like yesterday, I started my morning shift as usual, around 11 a.m. While driving towards Santa Monica, I met a passenger named Natasha. I want to share the story we exchanged that day, a story that was both amusing and bittersweet. As I listened to her, I couldn't help but think of myself 10 years ago. The lies I told for love, or maybe for survival, and the lies that grew from those lies. Was I the victim, or the perpetrator? Now, let me tell you Natasha's story. Or perhaps it's really my story. When I was 28, I left Europe and flew to Los Angeles chasing a dream. The sunlight in LA was breathtaking. The sunset at Venice Beach, the Hollywood sign glowing from Griffith Observatory, and the endless food from all over the world. Everything felt magical. Life at school was like a dream. Every day was full of new experiences. And I truly believed I could start a new life here. But reality hit hard. My rent alone was over $2,000 a month. Add car insurance, gas, and living expenses. LA was far more expensive than I'd imagined. And with a student visa, I wasn't allowed to work legally. I couldn't keep asking my parents for help. Then one day, my friend Eric, who was from the same country, made me an offer. Sarah, why don't we get married just on paper? I can help you get work authorization. At first, I refused. But each time I checked my bank balance, each time I received another tuition bill, I grew more desperate. Eventually, I said yes. We moved in together more like roommates than lovers. We went to City Hall, signed the papers, and prepared the documents for immigration. Eric was kind, and I was grateful, but after 3 months, things began to change. His eyes were different. His touch started asking for something more. Sarah, he said, why don't we live like a real couple? I mean, we already live together. I refused again and again, but he kept pushing, and the air inside that small apartment grew heavier by the day. Finally, one night, he said, what if I tell immigration this marriage is fake? That night, I packed my things and left. Once again, I was alone. The lie I chose, the lie I thought would help me survive, was slowly dragging me deeper into the dark. One day, while I was filling out the divorce papers, I got lucky. Through a friend's introduction, I landed a bartending job at a small place in Santa Monica called the Blue Wave. It was just 2 blocks away from Ocean Avenue. I had worked part-time as a bartender back in my home country, so the job itself wasn't too difficult. But every time I shook the cocktail shaker, I felt as if my own life was being shaken along with it. The surface looked dazzling, but inside, everything was still a tangled mess. It was a Friday night. The bar was packed. Music, laughter, and chatter filled the air. And then, he walked in. Michael came in with 3 friends and sat at the bar counter. Tall, with light brown hair and green eyes that seemed to glow under the dim lights. He ordered a mojito, watching silently as I crushed the mint leaves. That's a perfect mojito, he said. You didn't crush the mint too much, or too little. I smiled at his compliment. That night, we had a brief but memorable conversation. He told me he was an architect, currently working on a project in Malibu. After that, Michael started coming to the bar often. At first, every Friday, then Wednesdays. Eventually, he showed up every night I worked. When the bar was quiet, we would talk about his architecture projects, my student life, about dreams and the reality that often crushed them. 3 months later, after my shift ended, Michael took me to the Santa Monica Pier. We stood there, listening to the waves of the Pacific rolling in, and he took my hand. Sarah, he said softly, will you build a future with me? His eyes were sincere, different from Eric's. This time, it was real. I said yes, and right there, under the night sky, we kissed. 6 months later, we got married at the courthouse. It was simple, but heartfelt. This time it was real. The sweetness of our newlywed life lasted about 6 months. We started our marriage in a small apartment in Culver City. Every morning, Michael made me coffee, and I cooked him his favorite pasta. On weekends, We'd drive along the Pacific Coast Highway, sometimes all the way down to San Diego. For a while, life felt peaceful, even beautiful. But after a year, I began to see another side of Michael. He started waking up later and later. A 9 a.m. start turned into 10, then 11. When I heard that he'd received a warning from his company, I was shocked. Michael, what's going on? Why are you acting like this? I don't know, I'm just tired. Work's not fun anymore. He quit his first job, then the second, then the third, never lasting more than 6 months anywhere. His excuses were always different, but the pattern was the same. He wanted to escape responsibility. And then came the drinking. At first, he drank only on weekends with friends, but soon, he was coming home drunk on weekdays, staying out until dawn. Even at home, he'd go through 5 or 6 cans of beer a day. Michael, this isn't right. We need to talk. Talk about what? I'm the one bringing in the money. Oh wait. Right now, you're earning more than me. His tone had changed. The warmth I once loved was gone, replaced by sarcasm and bitterness. The parties made things worse. Every Thursday night, our apartment filled up with his friends. Loud music, the smell of alcohol and cigarettes. I had to get up early for work at the bar, but I couldn't sleep until 3 in the morning. Michael, please keep it down. I have an early shift tomorrow. Sarah, relax. You need to loosen up and enjoy life a little. I was exhausted. After spending the whole day working, I'd come home to a mess. Dirty dishes piled up in the sink, trash bags overflowing in the kitchen. Michael would be lying on the couch, drinking beer and playing video games, completely detached from reality. Is this the life I dreamed of? Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I found myself asking that question more and more often. And one day, I finally admitted the truth to myself. This marriage was a mistake. The turning point came the day I received my green card approval notice. When I pulled the USCIS envelope from the mailbox, my hands were shaking. I had waited 3 years for this moment. When I tore it open and saw the word approved, tears streamed down my face. Not out of joy but relief. For the first time, I was free. I could stay in the US, legally even without Michael. But divorce wasn't easy. California is a community property state, which means everything earned during the marriage must be split 50-50. The problem was I was the one earning more. Michael was unemployed, while I worked double shifts, bartending at night and at a catering company during the day, making over $5,000 a month. If I'd filed for divorce, I'd have to pay him a large settlement. It felt unfair, unbearable, even. And then, I remembered Michael's weakness. Jessica. Jessica had been my closest friend since I first came to LA. A tall blonde with ocean blue eyes, and a model's figure. Men couldn't take their eyes off her, and every time Michael looked at her, I noticed the change in his gaze. One day, I approached her carefully. Jessica, can you help me with something? I told her my plan. At first, she hesitated. Sarah, this is too dangerous. What if? Please, Jessica, I have to get out of this marriage. It's the only way. Eventually, she agreed. We planned everything down to the smallest detail. First, Jessica started visiting our apartment only when Michael was home. She dressed more provocatively than usual and began flirting with him subtly at first, then more boldly. At the beginning, Michael seemed awkward. But as time went on, I could see him giving in to temptation. Meanwhile, I began staying late at work, intentionally giving them time alone. A small hidden camera in the living room recorded everything. After 3 weeks, I got what I needed. Footage of Michael and Jessica kissing on the couch, walking into the bedroom together. Clear, undeniable evidence. That Friday night, I came home early, telling my manager I wasn't feeling well. As I opened the door, I heard laughter coming from the living room. Michael and Jessica, they were sitting on the couch, drinking wine together. What the hell is going on here? I shouted. It wasn't acting. Even though I'd planned it all, the anger that rose inside me was real. Sarah, Wait, it's not. Get out. Both of you. I grabbed Jessica's bag and threw it across the room, yelling at Michael until my voice broke. Then I stormed into the bedroom and locked the door behind me. It was exactly as planned. Now, I had what I needed. A perfect reason for divorce. The divorce went faster than I had expected. Michael's lawyer could barely mount a defense. The evidence was too clear. I was able to divorce him cleanly, without any property settlement. The day I held the court's judgment in my hands, I finally felt free, but it was strange. The moment I was free, a heaviness settled in my chest. I no longer contacted Jessica. She called a few times, but I didn't answer. Our friendship ended there. I had used her, yes, but I couldn't forgive her. Or maybe I couldn't forgive myself. Night after night, I had nightmares. Michael and Jessica sitting on the couch, and when I opened the door, they laughed at me. Sarah, you used us. You're just as bad as we are. Every time I shook a cocktail at the bar, I thought about my life shaken violently, just like the contents of the shaker. On the surface, the drink looks beautiful, but the process inside is chaotic, even violent. 3 years after receiving my green card, I became a U.S. citizen. I'm now able to apply for my parents' immigration. I live a simple life in a small studio in West LA. I no longer bartend. Now I work as an Uber driver. I enjoy meeting people, even if only for a short time, because I get to peek into their lives. Sometimes, I meet passengers like Natasha, and we share honest, heartfelt conversations. This morning, after dropping Natasha off in Santa Monica, I parked my car by the beach for a moment, listening to the waves. I looked at the pier, the same pier where Michael proposed to me 10 years ago. Did I make the right choice? I still don't know for sure, but one thing is certain: I survived, and I am still moving forward. The heaviness remains, but I've decided to accept it as part of my life. No one is perfect. Sometimes, we make imperfect choices, just to survive. I've turned the engine back on. The next passenger is waiting, and life goes on. I love driving for Uber, because it allows me to have conversations like this with passengers. I hope Natasha, who shared her honest personal story with me, finds luck and happiness. No, actually, this wasn't Natasha's story. It was mine. I lied to you at the beginning, but if I hadn't started with Natasha's story, I never would have had the courage to tell it all. Sometimes, to speak the truth, we need a lie first. It's contradictory, but that's life. Drive safely. This was Uber driver Sarah. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to support me. Thank you.